All right, and we're live.
Hello, hello,
Brooke.
everyone. Yes, we're live. I'm so incredibly excited to be here with you for your very first time. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm Saket's publicist. I help him with some of his articles and things of that nature. And he said to me, Brooke, I would love to start doing a conversation where I sit down and really educate and share my story. He said, but I think I need someone to lead me in and ask me some questions. So I volunteered myself to be here with you guys to sit down with Socket, and I'm so incredibly excited. And Socket, I know you are too.
Oh, I am super excited. I think it's a long time coming. It's always hard. And you know me, and most of the people who are, if you're on the stream or listening offline, you know I can talk. The problem with me is I want to make sure that we're talking about stuff that makes sense, right? I can tell about
Hmm.
my story about inspiration that have driven me, but thinking it from a perspective of what someone else may need and which aspect of mine needs to be highlighted so that it can add value to somebody else's life. That was a whole motivation for me even reaching out to Brooke. Like, you know what? You know my story a lot more than somebody else. So where that perspective that you are a complete stranger to me, what would you want to know from me?
Absolutely. So, in that vein, for those who may know you but don't perhaps know everything about you, introduce yourself. Just give them the Cliff
Yeah,
Notes version of who you are. And I know that's a tall order.
definitely. That's hard for me, but we'll try.
It's very hard.
Um, for those of you who don't know me, if my accent and my name didn't go away, grew up in India. Moved here about 23 years ago. I think I'm almost hitting that point where I've lived most of my life in the US. So for all practical reasons, the way I think, the way I am, I'm pretty more American than Indian right now. And I'm not saying it as a badge of honor or as a pat on the back. It is what it is, right? And when I
Mhm.
moved into this country, I literally came with $500. And again, it's not a pity party here. It was probably the best thing my dad did for me. That send me into a completely strange country with where I didn't know anybody, with basically being able to survive for maybe a month. Um, so that pushed me into a direction where I think the resilience quality came in, and then eventually started working and all that good stuff like everyone else, every other immigrant would do. But what I thought was something is missing. Money came easy. When I say that, I'm not disrespecting hard work, but once I mentally crossed that barrier of how to make money by working, it wasn't challenging enough. So what's next? Right? What's next was I went on a personal journey. I basically sold everything I had, me and my wife, and we checked ourselves into a monastery. I'm sure it's very practical to do that and very non-unorthodox to do it. Everyone does it. Why not? So we did that for about 2 years. We lived that life. Amazing personal transformation. I rec I recommend everyone to go that path, but don't do it because the repercussion is too high, right? I think you have to be ready to do that. But then we came back out of the monastery, and then we started our life back up. Now we have two kids, beautiful kids, two girls, and now the journey has completely changed. The journey is to make money with a reason. And I retired myself from my W-2 from a corporate job December 2nd, 2022. Who's counting? So almost
He's a
there.
little proud of that. He's been counting the days joyfully ever since.
Yeah, it was a proud moment, but the reason I was able to do that is because of the cash flow from the investment. I learned the concept of have your money work for you, right? And now the
Mhm.
goal is to help others achieve the same, either through partnership with me or through conversations like that. Inspiration is the goal right now. To, hey, if I can do it, anyone else can. I'm not the smartest kid in the block, and I have no shame in saying that. But the same thing is that if I can figure it out, anyone can.
One thing that I know was challenging for me when we first started working together was the differentiation of your two brands. Give us a little insight
Yeah,
into that because
definitely.
it's so easy to get those wires crossed.
Yeah, so we started with a brand called Impact Wealth Builders. It was called something else. We rebranded during COVID for a variety of reasons. I'm sure as we do more sit down with Sakis, that story is going to come out. But Impact Wealth Builder is if somebody has the capital to invest and they want to say that, hey, you know what, I have some seed capital and I want to figure out a way to work that capital where I don't have to be involved actively into that. So Impact Wealth Builder is the brand you want to go to, where you are able to figure out, hey, you know what, there are certain investment opportunities. Do I want to partner with Saket? Do I want to learn more about it? And stuff like that. That's really where if you have the seed capital. Now, what happens mostly is that what I started realizing in my own journey and talking to my own investors who were partnering with me was it money was just a facade for most people. What people were after was freedom, right? Freedom of what? Now the question is freedom from what? Freedom from the day to day. Right? They want to spend time with their kids. They want to spend time with their spouses. Especially for immigrants, it's very common. People of my age that parents are getting sick back home, but they can't go for more than 2 or 3 weeks. And some of them, and it happened to me. My dad passed away. I didn't get a chance to see him. My mom passed away. I didn't get a chance to see them or spend time with them. So that guilt, you live with that guilt. So I think my immigrant family at least is all that cusp right now. Hopefully not, but chances are you are. So you are looking for time. And one beautiful thing about money, good, bad, evil, whatever, however you define it, it gives you time if you
Hmm.
invest it properly, right? So we're like, you know what? We need to make that transition of hope people that were coming in it was started for investors that, as an investor, you've now realized how money can buy you time. Let's help you get other vectors in your life in order as well, which are five of those. And then we started a brand called Migrate to Wealth. It started as a podcast for my daughters, because I'm like, I don't know how long I'm going to live. So it started as a venture of let me capture my philosophies, my learnings into a podcast. But then it actually shut off, we took off and completely branding it called Migrate to Wealth, where it's very education centric, right? And money is always going to be important because money is the means to buy you freedom. Don't let anyone say that money is not important, but don't let anyone
And
say
I would
money
add
is
stability as well, stability in an environment and a world that feels incredibly unstable right now.
correct, correct, correct. So then we started Migrate to Wealth, where we're now talking about five different vectors in life. Your mind, and in that specific order, mind, body, relationship. Relationship is a little bit broader. It's relationship with yourself, with your higher power, if you believe in one, your partner, your colleagues, whoever. Relationship is a broader topic. Then money, and then impact. Right? In that specific order, now impact, one could argue, you can have it with or without money. That's perfectly fine. These are just way I define it. Doesn't necessarily mean the right sequencing. This is the only way to sequence them. So that's really what Migrate to Wealth is about now.
If you could see people take these conversations and implement them and act on them in their own life, what is the one thing you want people to take from today and realize to start putting into action? It could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be wellness centered, whatever it is. What is one thing you want people to start to put into implementation as soon as today?
Yeah, so I think the key thing there is going to be, Brooke, anything you want to do in your life, there's one thing that's preventing you to, only one thing, it's your mind. That's it. And what is your mental model? How do you view the world? And how do you view yourself? These two models are often in conflict for people. That
Mhm.
I don't look pretty enough, or I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or why would I do this? That's one dialogue that's going inside. But outside, you're projecting that I'm king or queen of the jungle, right? And then when you have that conflict, things become harder than they need to be. And that, I think, is the one thing that I would say is that no matter what your journey is, where your journey is, you may be starting out in your journey, financial journey, wealth journey. You may be a billionaire already. I don't know where your journeys are, whoever is listening, or maybe somewhere in between, or all of the above. We need to take stock on what is the dialogue that's going in our own brain. And
Mhm.
until we do that, and then so the question is not, well, Saket, can you help me become a millionaire? I don't think I'm going to even talk to you if you open the conversation with that question. And I'm giving you a hint to how to talk to me. It's going to be more around, hey, I want to help accomplish X. And that X is not monetary. Money is a means. So the more we talk about this, money is an
Mhm.
energy, money is virtual, money does not exist. Money is a fiction of our imagination. We're at length at some point on that as well. So what more important is what are we thinking us, and why is that important to
Mhm.
us? Those two components, and then you marry the two and really go on the journey of in next 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, pick a timeline. What do you want to accomplish? And then we build a bridge from A to B. Right now, people want to go to B where they have no idea where A is, right? You want to go from New Jersey to California. At least you know you're starting from New Jersey. But if you want to say, I'm going to California, give me a map, the GPS doesn't know. The first thing the GPS, two things the GPS needs, maybe three things: internet connection, your starting point, and your end point. Without these three things, you can't do anything. And that's really what, to answer your question, Brooke, is what I want people to accomplish is that you need your starting point, you need your end point, and you need your internet, right? You
Mhm.
need your infrastructure to make sure that it can you can build a bridge on top of it. You can't build a bridge in the air. You need a good
Mm-mm.
foundation.
One thing I would add to what you said is it's often what does lack thereof of money or having money mean about me? Because that can be
Yeah.
another component.
Yeah, I think it's kind of so funny you say that. And again, this is one of the most talked discussion in my household with me, my wife, and my kids, is that when you utter a word, whatever that word is, and I'm not
Yeah.
perfect, right? They correct me all the time. When you utter a word, what does that word mean to you, right?
Mhm.
Like my girls used a word. It's sassy. I don't even know what that word means. I didn't grow up here, so I always keep that as my anchor point. I didn't grow up here. I have no idea what that means. I'm like,
Okay,
what does that
well,
mean to
I
you?
know what that means.
So I'm like, okay, what does that mean to you? Sassy, like sassy. I'm like, you can't describe it. So if you can't describe it, that doesn't mean that means you can't you're not able to understand it. Once you're able to put anything into words, that means you're able to share that expression with somebody else. And when you're trying to do that, and I have to learn that. I was an engineer. I was a developer, coding in a dark room, listening to techno music. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me. I can talk to computers, but not to human beings. But I had to evolve that when you have to express something, when you have to share your thinking, when you have to bring somebody else on the same page as you have to use words, good or bad. You can say that people are more intuitive. More intuitive people don't know how to express themselves. Well, good but bad, because that's fine. But if you need to talk to people, human beings only understand one language, unfortunately, which is language of words. If there are no words, we won't understand each other. Most of us.
Most of us. One thing I want to speak to briefly as we do this introduction is there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of confusion on the national level, particularly surrounding finances. I think so many people see money right now as a topic that is fearful, a topic that brings about anxiety. What would you say to that respect?
So I think there is fear is a good emotion. I think unfortunately the world that we live in, fear has become negative. I don't think fear is negative. I think the what you do with that fear is good or bad. Fear in itself is actually a great emotion, right? So imagine if you're in front of a tiger, if you're not afraid, you're not going to run, right?
Yeah, maybe you should be a little
That's
afraid.
a little afraid is okay, but if you become paralyzed, that's a different thing, right? So it starts with fear, but then we multiply that fear 1,000 times. We give it steroid of our emotions, of our previous mental model, of our future mental model, of our own
Mhm.
insecurities, and it just grows up, right? So, I think to answer your question, is the world today uncertain? It is. Was the world uncertain in 2008? It was. Was the world uncertain in 1999, 2000 timeframe, dot-com burst, for those of you who have forgotten? It was. World always uncertain, right? There are periods of certainty in that uncertainty, but it's always uncertain, right? So, unfortunately, we think that certainty is the norm. Uncertainty is the norm. The world, the universe, it is uncertain because nobody knows when are we going to die. It's uncertain. That's by definition, we're built to be uncertain in an uncertain world. So being afraid of uncertainty is a moment to check in what is going on in your own mind. You're afraid of what? You're not afraid of market crash. You're afraid of market crash would mean what? I may not be able to retire. I may not have a job. I may not be able to have a house. I may not be able to do this. I may not be able to do that, right? Whatever they are. And people have endless lists. And we're
Well,
talking
and
only
then your
material things.
identity is incredibly entwined with those things that you just talked about. And you've told
Correct.
me before how intertwined
100%.
your identity was with your career in the past.
It was, and it probably
It
is
probably
still to a
still
certain
is.
extent. I don't think it has had. I'm sure it is because I think to do what I do and to do what everyone else do, you need to have an ego, right? So you can't, especially as an entrepreneur, cannot exist without an ego. Now, is ego bad or ego good? Right? I don't think his ego is bad or ego is good. Ego it is. What you make out of ego is good or bad. Same is true with uncertainty and fear. Is fear good or bad? Fear is not good, not bad. Fear is fear. It just gives you a moment to think, hopefully more than a few moments, hopefully not in front of the tiger, hopefully have a little bit more time to think. So to answer your question directly though, the world's always going to be uncertain. So what the message the thing that I would propose to people is learn how to parse out the noise that exists in the world. What is media doing? What is media's job? Let's kind of like think about that. Why does a newspaper exist or magazines exist? Because they need to make money. What sells faster? Negative news,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, you were a newscast.
Yeah,
You were you used to do that
I
for a
know
living, right? So
exactly
that's
what
the
sells.
so it sells. So if nobody will watch 6 o'clock news in the evening, if we say the world's happy,
I
shut it
wish
off.
people would, but that they would not.
They were not, right? So part of that is we're looking to validate our fears. Why are we doing that? We already know. I mean, how many times do you need to know the recession may come? So why are we watching the same news again and again and again? Now you need to flip the switches. Okay, recession is there's 80%, 50%, whatever your probability is, there's a very high probability recession is going to come. What do I need to do as an individual to protect myself? You can't protect recession. Recession is going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The
And how
market
can
forces are
you take
behind
advantage
you and
of it
I.
in a way that makes sense for you? Because that is not entirely negative.
100%. 100%. And biggest wealth transfer happens in recessions.
Hmm.
So somebody is able to make money. Now, I know a lot of our listeners may say that, you know what, rich people become richer. No, it's not true. It's not true. I think people who are resourceful are able to take advantage of the resources they have,
I love
to
that.
take the advantage of that moment, right? So you have to become resourceful. You don't have to become rich. You have to become resourceful. And resourcefulness will lead you into a direction of how to handle a certain uncertainty. What worked during 2008 would not have worked during COVID pandemic. It would have been very different. But if you were resourceful enough, there were a group of people who made a lot of money during COVID,
Hmm. They
ethically
were
and legally.
ethically is important. They
And
were
they're,
creative, they were thoughtful, resourceful, and they didn't, as
yeah,
you mentioned, let the outside noise get to them. And if they did, they took a moment to
correct,
recenter, which we all let the outside news get to us.
definitely.
I know that I did over the weekend, but you have to take that time to recenter.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting. I would say that these
Yeah.
conversations, if somebody is tuning in online, live, or we're going to be here every week, and Brooke is stuck with me. We're going to be talking our own musings, which I love to have a conversation with Brooke, anyways. But I think what I want to say is that challenge yourself of what you're hearing here or what you're hearing anywhere, right? Come here for inspiration. Don't come here for answers. Because if you're looking for answers, essentially you're not going to get them because my answer is going to be very different than your answer, right? My goal with Brooks' help is going to be to get you inspired to ask questions.
Hmm.
And if you ask questions, you're going to find solution. We have forgotten how to ask questions as a world where the society as a whole is becoming very weak, right? And why do we think that immigrants are outshining everywhere? Because there's only one thing that an immigrant is supposed to do, which is ask question, where do I fit in? Right? What do I need to do? Constantly asking because they're not comfortable.
Hmm.
I mean, you're ripping apart the entire life in one country. It doesn't. You're ripping apart their life, putting them here. And one thing I always say is that keep the immigrant drive on. Again, that doesn't mean it's because I'm an immigrant, it's because that drive is about curiosity, that drive is about hunger, that drive is about I didn't move here to be comfortable. I need to continue to push.
Ooh, I love the curiosity component. Curiosity is huge, absolutely huge.
And
Okay,
curiosity
if you
did
were
not
gonna
kill the cat. It did not kill the cat.
no, and
So don't let
curiosity
people
is
say that.
fun. If you guys have ever watched the Little Mermaid movie, you're gonna know how much fun curiosity is. So,
Yeah.
as we're getting ready to wrap up here and yield our audience back their Monday morning, what piece of advice or golden nugget would you leave them with? And I know that that's a hard question.
Yeah, I think one thing I've been thinking a lot about these conversations, and
Oh,
I think we want to
he's come
make these
prepared.
were new for
He's
me.
come
I
prepared.
don't. I think it's going to be every conversation that we want to have, we want to lead it to a certain thing that are actionable, right? What I would challenge you and welcome you, everyone, is to figure out your goals. It could be monetarily, it could be a relationship, it could be spiritual, it could be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't matter. I'm
It
not
could
the
be in
judge
the
of that.
gym. It could be anything at all.
Anything at all. Anything at all. And then have naked conversations about those goals with people that you trust, love, and respect, right?
Mhm.
Because what you want to do is, hey, I want to leave, I want to lose. Let's say if today, and this has been a problem for me, and this year I'm hoping to control of that. Not hoping, I will. Is my weight, right? That if I have if I say in the next 2 months I'm going to lose 70 pounds, not going to happen. It may happen,
That'd be a little over, just a little over the top,
just a little over the top, right? So
just
that's
a
where
little.
you want people like Brooke to challenge you, saying that have you thought about this or have you thought about that? Is it realistic? Is it healthy? Are you able to do it? What are you going to do about it? Right? They're gonna
Are you going to
again
break your
these
mental sanity?
exactly right. Or what are you going to do? You're going to starve yourself to death. What are you going to do? Doesn't matter what that is. They're just going these when people question you, you're getting tested about how well have you thought about it. If you're getting irritated about somebody asking you about your goal, you haven't thought about it. It's at the
Hmm.
surface. Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. And what we're doing is, Brooke, as I've thought about it, because I have helped a lot of my mentors have helped me. This is a tough exercise, goal setting for people who have never thought about goals. It's very very hard, right? So what I'm thinking of doing is that I just put a line in the sand that April 17th for 45 minutes, I'm going to open up sort of a goals workshop. I have no idea. I have no content ready for that yet. I have no idea what that's going to look like. But like we're thinking of that in the next three, four, five conversations. Hopefully, people would tell me what they want to learn. Otherwise, I'm going to develop the content. I have the content in my head. I just haven't written it down. And then we're going to present it. And then whoever wants to show up, they can. So what I've done is let's take the advantage of technology that we have developed. It's a Zoom link, but to make it easier, I have a QR code there. Just click on the QR code, register on the site. You'll get a calendar link. Add it to your calendar. You don't have to be there live. I would love for you to be live because you can ask your live quick Q and A's. But what we want to do is after every two or three of these sit downs, we want to lead it somewhere. We just want to have. I don't want to have a random call. I have more time with Brooke than I need on these calls. I want these calls to be productive, right? These conversations need to go somewhere more where people are going to take advantage from. So that's really my offer to you. That it's free. There's no money involved. It's coming from my Grit to Wealth background, the domain, which is very education centric.
Okay, you heard him. You've got to help him come up with his questions. You've got to help him prepare his content. So drop him a note in the DMs, drop him a note in these comments here. And I think this went on well for our first live
I
together.
think
I think
so.
we had a pretty good bounce and a pretty good synergy going on. Don't you think so?
I can't believe you made me stop talking at 25 minutes. That's amazing, Brooke. Uh,
I'm really good. I'm really good at managing time. Okay,
yeah,
everyone. I said as much as he would probably love to talk for an hour, and we're going to keep some content for you guys for next week, and we're going to cut it off here. But thank you so much for joining us.
thank you all for joining. Appreciate it.